What's up? Ben Samulak here, doing a follow-up video on our second Bradley baby. So we had baby number two. It's been a while. We actually had our baby girl 9 months ago, but I've been so busy with two babies now, two kids. I haven't been able to do another update video. But I wanted to. Finally had a chance to talk about our second natural childbirth, Bradley baby. It was also successful again. No drugs and natural, 100% natural. So thank the Lord. Yeah, it really worked out well again. We did follow some of the same things that we learned from the Bradley method from our first baby. I just want to give you a quick give you a little bit about how everything went, just so you can see. Mainly my video is to encourage people, to let you know that if you want to have a natural childbirth, there's a lot of benefits to it, and also it takes work. It's like preparing for a marathon. If you don't prepare for a marathon, when you show up that day, if you think you just want to do one and you don't plan for it and you get to the marathon, you might get a mile. No matter how much you want to finish, you won't be able to do it. Same with having a natural childbirth. It takes a lot of work, and not just going to the classes at the hospital today. And you don't have to believe me if you don't want. See how your experience goes. But most women now, they have to have some kind of induction, and whenever you have some kind of intervention, I should say, there always can be complications. Any intervention can bring a complication. So you want to do everything you can to prepare yourself to not have to have any interventions. And most hospitals are not set up that way. They're set up to give you intervention after intervention, which many women that have complications, even C-sections, then that starts off the whole having your baby process, makes things a lot more difficult when you have to have a C-section. With the nursing, with all the different things, it just makes things a lot more difficult. So that's why it's very helpful to really do what you can do to have the natural childbirth. So and husbands, fathers, you have to play just as big a part to be your wife's coach, to get her, to help her get through it. There's a lot of different things that you need, so I'll do another video on that, but I just want to tell you about our experience. So with this baby, it's never easy. We were prepared. We had our doula come over. My wife called me. I was in for an interview for a job, and she called me at the interview and told me her water broke. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking, because when the water breaks, you don't want to wait too long, and she wasn't in labor yet. She just said her water broke. So I got a little nervous, thinking like, oh great, right off the bat we're not gonna be able to have a natural childbirth, because if she doesn't go into labor and we go to the hospital and her water broke, a lot of times they're gonna want to induce her and get her started to get the baby coming. They don't want to leave the baby with the water broke. So I really kind of just told her, try to stay relaxed. I know you have a little time, so I didn't overly, get worried about it or anything, like overreact. So I told my wife, just get some rest, because you're gonna need it. Like, if when you had a baby, if you ever had a baby, you know how long that thing goes, and you need to get some rest. So I said, just get some rest, rest a little bit. I'm gonna go through the interview. When I come home, let me look at she saved some of her water so we can look at it, because if it's brown, if it's dark, then you just want to go to the hospital right away. You need to. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's clear, then they'll sometimes let you wait a little bit. So when I got home, I looked at it. It was a tint of yellow, so it kind of worried me. And it was not, it was definitely from her water breaking. And so I smelled it, and it didn't smell. It was odorless. So I was looking online. We called our doula, and she said, well, we can go in if you guys want, but if you feel comfortable, if it's not dark. So we were just starting right off the bat, had to kind of start rolling with the punches. So, thank God, she started having contractions. So I was like, yes. We waited about 4 or 5 hours, and I was about ready to go to the hospital. But then she started having the contractions. So then we were like, sweet. And we called her doula. She said, you're fine. You started naturally. The baby's coming. So right off the bat, that's something. See, you'll have these little obstacles. The whole way through, it's never going to be easy. Now on the other hand, I want to put in a little addendum. I'm just giving you advice. I'm not a doctor. These are just our experiences, so you still need to make your own choices. Don't do anything based on what I say, what I'm telling you. You all got to make your own choices. But when you're prepared, you have choices, because you're more educated. When you're educated, you have choices. When you're not educated, you're going to just do what people tell you what to do, especially people who are professionals. They're going to tell you what to do, and you're just going to do it, because you have no other really say in the matter if you don't have any education, if you haven't prepared. So we had our doula come. probably about 5 hours after she was in in labor. And last time we had her come early, and she can come later typically, but we just wanted her there. She gave my wife back massages, and I learned how to do that myself, but our doula has done this over and over with a lot of different women, so she knew exactly how to help my wife. And she even told my wife, even told her like that was like her drug, having those back massages really could hit the pressure points where she needed them on her back, and just really helped her get through the all the different all the contractions. So at one point she was, ready. We waited as long as we could, because that's another thing, when you go through these classes, you realize when you go to the hospital, they don't want to wait too long for you. If the baby's not coming, if it takes too long, if you go too early, you're gonna have to induce. So that's why our doula, she was able to time it. She's kind of really trained, knowing when we should go to the hospital, when it's time. So, and with the first baby, she did a perfect job. We got there at 7 centimeters, and my wife was, already at the last stages. So there was one point though, my wife was on the couch, and she was really, she even was telling my doula that, she wants them drugs, give her the drugs. And so my doula was just helping her, coaching her through it, encouraging her. And we said, if you want it, let's go. But my wife, once you get to that point, you'll realize it's that last stage, especially. She hit the last stage earlier, and that's when my doula knew we got to get going. She's ready, because when it gets to that point, you're close to the home stretch. So we try to get her ready, and my wife said, like, yeah, every place she stopped, to have a contraction, she kept thinking like she thought she was gonna have a baby on the steps in the doorway. Because when you get to that point, she really could feel the baby descending, and you still have about 3 to 4 hours at that point. But my wife was telling me like she felt like she was in a daze. Like every time she stopped, right before the door on the floor, she wanted to stop for a contraction, kind of got herself ready, got to the car. And even in the car, I was getting a little worried, because she was, put one leg up to try to be like get more relaxed, but like start pushing her leg on the dashboard, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I started flying to the hospital, which is only, our hospital is only maybe 15 minutes away, so I wasn't too worried. But I was going. It was later, maybe 9 or 10. So we show up to the hospital. My doula helps us. She helps us bring the bags, everything up. We get to the triage, and everyone who's been to the hospital, kind of like they prepare you. They show you where you're going to go when you first get there to check in. We had an alternative birthing room. That's another thing you're going to probably want to have. So you're going to have space in the room. You're prepared for it. So they put the monitor on her. They're supposed to have you wait for maybe 30 to 45 minutes. And they called our midwife, and my doula was like, yeah, she's going to be going pretty soon. And so we told the nurses, tell the midwife, come now, we're ready. And the midwife said, well, get her in the triage, get her checked, and then I'll come. And we were like, no, tell her to come now. Like, it's funny that people, even the midwives who are there to give you, help you have a natural childbirth, wasn't expecting we were going to come that late. So they're trying to get the monitors, and every time she's trying to put it back on my wife, it's moving around. My wife's like, I'm ready to have the baby. What are you doing? Stop. I want to go to the room. So I told the lady, the nurse, I said, well, we can stay here, but she's probably gonna have the baby in here if you want to stay in here, because I think she's getting pretty close. And I could see in her eyes, she realized, okay, this is actually far along. So she went and got the wheelchair, and we went to our room. So we went right to the bed, and some of the nurses kind of got like set up. It was low dim lights, and they think we're just ready to get started, but she's ready to go. So they all left us alone. It was me and my doula and my wife. And my wife's like, Ben, are you ready? You might have to deliver this baby. And I'm like, all right, okay, like, let me get some help. So I look out in the hallway, and there's some nurses eating chips out there, and I'm like, you guys might want to come in, but since my midwife hadn't come yet, they probably thought everything was, we had a lot of time or something. So finally, midwife shows up, and she checks my wife, and she's like, "Oh, that's weird. It feels like his head's right there." So she goes to wash her hands, and then my wife just starts, she's like, "Can I push?" And my doula's like, "Go ahead, start pushing if you feel like you gotta push." So she starts pushing, and all of a sudden, all these nurses start running. My midwife's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing? Get set up. What's going on?" About 10 nurses run in the room, all the lights going, all the different, they get prepared, and it was just like boom, maybe like 4 or 5 pushes, and the baby was out. So, it was a really fast, the final pushing was just very fast. So that was just, I was so amazed that my wife went through it. Our doula helped us get through it, and everything turned out great. Now, once the baby came, just like the last time, my wife hemorrhaged a little. So because of that, they had to give her some Pitocin once the baby was out, just to help her uterus contract, which I understand many women have died from, from having a bleeding too much. So with this one, just for precaution, they wanted to just do that right away, which I was fine with. You know, we did the best we could, so it wasn't perfect, I have to say, but I'm very happy with, you know, my wife, how she handled everything and the way she did it, and I was just there to coach her and however she needed to do it in the end, and I was so proud of her that she was able to do it, and even if it wasn't, just proud that she did everything she could, however it would have turned out. That's how I felt in my heart, that I always just wanted to be there for her and help support her in that. And yeah, so we had our baby girl, and it was awesome. Yeah, so that's the story on the second natural childbirth. You know, we could tell you more about the Bradley method later. I'll tell you, and some other steps you can take to have a natural childbirth, because it is like a marathon, and you have to be prepared. It takes time. You have to do everything you can so that when you get to that race, you really feel like you did everything you could. So however it turns out, you could feel good in your heart that at least on your side, you guys did everything you could. So hope that helped. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.